And can you guys move to where he's not going to videotape your face? Are they up?
Yeah, they're
Okay. All right. How to turn your Frankenstein slab mug into a Cinderella pre-midnight pretty mug. So we're going to take all this and clean it up. It's important to have it, to do it kind of rough and like we did it before, because it makes a really strong connection. In fact, I'm going to strengthen the connection by stitching the seam. So I'm going to take the modeling tool, the round end of the modeling tool. Can you guys all see? And I'm going to stitch the seam. And how I do that is I'm pulling clay from one side of the seam diagonally across the seam, and I'm compressing the seam, the two pieces of clay where they touch. And then I'm going to do it the same way, or the opposite direction. Again, in an X pattern, I'm stitching the seam together. Okay, same thing on the inside. It's going to be a little harder to reach on the inside, but I'm going to get in there and I'm going to support the wall with my outside hand. Compress, 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 compress. And the opposite direction. The more you do this, the stronger your seam is going to be. Down here at the bottom, that's why I left this little lip. Remember I said cut it almost to the size of your cylinder? I'm compressing across the seam. I'm compressing from this bottom up, the bottom slab, up into the wall of the top. So the goal here is to have invisible seams. I don't want to know where your seam is. If I can tell where your seam is, if your friend can tell where your seam is, you need to do a better job. So right now I can still see it, right? I'm gonna do a little bit of trimming some of that extra stuff off right there. And then I'm going to start shear forming some of this extra stuff. So be careful with the shear form. By the way, this is a little on the soft side. I can tell because the clay is sticking to the shear form. Barely on the soft side. You want to do this pretty much right in the middle of the leather hard stage. And the seam here. Be careful with the shear form though, because you're taking clay away. So it's getting thinner over here. So maybe I should go around the whole thing a little bit. Make sure everything's even. And so as we do this, as we're cleaning this up, we're going to use a series of different tools, and each tool is going to try to take away the marks of the tool we used before until we get to something that has no marks. The lip right now, it's very square. It's got a flat top, right? And this doesn't look like the most inviting lip to drink out of. It looks like I might knock my front teeth out if I, took too aggressive of a drink. So this would be a good time to also take that edge off. I can use my shear form to go around there, make something that's more rounded. Plus, sharp edges tend to chip really easily when you're washing dishes in the dishwasher and the sink. Things bang around as they get used throughout their life. And if you have a sharp edge, it's going to chip a lot more easily than a rounded edge. So the lips and the feet, the two parts that take the most abuse, need to have that. I've still got a pretty flat, let's tilt it to the side, pretty flat bottom here, so I'm going to, a pretty sharp edge on the bottom, so I'm going to use my shear form to shape that or undercut that a little bit. Remember we did the undercut on the wheel throwing pots? Visually it creates that shadow and kind of lifts it up a little bit. And you can really see my clay is a little on the wet side because it's all sticking to itself. Still got a little slip showing in the inside seam. I'm going to compress that with the round end of the modeling tool. Think of this modeling tool as an extension of your finger. That's what this round end is for, getting into places you can't really reach with your finger. The inside, I'm not going to lie, it's just harder to get at. It's harder to clean up because it's harder to reach. That's the downside. The upside is it's also harder to see. And when people are using this, it's going to be full of coffee or hot chocolate. It's almost done shear forming. Hit this one more time here. You guys hand builders? Yeah. It's interesting. Okay, I think I'm done with the Surform, but now I see marks that look like Surform marks, so I'm going to take my metal rib scraper and do some scraping. Try to get those Surform marks to go away. The metal rib is nice because it scrapes, and I have these. I don't give these to all of you because they're kind of sharp and dangerous. But when you're ready to borrow one, come up and borrow it. I'll always say yes as long as you ask first. Don't take it without asking. I just like to know where they are. And as soon as you're done, bring it back to me. Don't hand it off to somebody. Make them come ask too. All right. You guys see the seam anywhere? Got rid of the seam. But now I want to get rid of these scrape marks. So down with the metal scraper, and now, what's this called again?
Rubber rib.
Rubber rib tool. And so this essentially does what we did with our fingers on the stepstone. The finger polishing really gets the last marks out. So in the end, we want to have something that doesn't really show how it was made. Caden, can you pass down the line that water bottle, please? Okay, so a little bit of finger polishing at the end. I'm gonna, did I spray it? Just smooth out this lip a little bit. And the bottom as well. And here you've got something that's ready to have a handle attached. Okay? So, you know how to attach a handle. We've talked about that before. As soon as you have two mugs that are cleaned up and have attached handles, the next and last demo for this part of the project is this Sgraffito decoration, which is something you probably don't know about, right? Yeah. So, as soon as somebody's at that point, tell me. I'll call you all back over and we'll do that demo. Ready to go?